In this video, we're going to take a look at a green ink by PensBBS, their number 219. As always, there's timestamps down below so you can skip around, but if you've got the time, it really does help me for you to check out the entire video. Also, down in the description is a link to the green ink playlist, so if you want to see more greens, that's where you'll find them. I'm an ink guy, and let's get into the first writing sample done on 90 GSM Clairfontaine. No bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen, or shade. The extra fine is quite a bit lighter than the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, some very nice shading. Look at brown, darker to lighter to mid-tone, over light to dark. The is very dark compared to everything around it, 9 seconds to dry. Medium is the same tone as the extra fine with no feather spread, halo sheen. The goes light to dark, brown, dark to light, quick, dark to light to dark to light to dark. Nice shading, 15 seconds to dry. Scrubby for both shows some color variation, looked much better in the writing than it does down here, and the smear test you could recover if you smeared while you were writing. To have a range of experience with this ink, all of the writing samples are done with a Jinhao 159 with a 1.1 stub, a Jinhao X450 with a medium, and a Jinhao X750 with an extra fine. Then a Pelikan M205 with a double broad nib was inked up, used for a day, and used to take the notes for this video. The next writing sample is done on 52 GSM Tomoe River. No bleeding, some minor ghosting, not too bad. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade. The extra fine is quite a bit lighter than the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen. It does offer some decent shading as brown goes dark to light. Fox goes darker to lighter, back darker again. Now that darker is mid to light to mid, really. Over goes light to dark, 15 seconds to dry. Medium is darker than the extra fine, not as dark as the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen. It does also shade very nicely as we see the goes lighter to darker, lazy goes darker to lighter, dog goes light to dark, 22 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both show a little bit of color variation. I think it's nicer in the writing. And the smear test, there's no recovering it if you smear while you're writing. I agree with Vita. There's a lot to learn by doing multiple chromatographies. The one on the left is done the way it's supposed to be done. A line of ink is put down, and then it's put in the water for 10 to 15 seconds. And we see this light gray tone that is evenly pushing its way up to where we get a brighter green, but as it gathers, we see it becomes a darker green. Now the one on the right that's allowed to dry for 10 minutes, the most noticeable difference we can see between them is that gray line on the bottom is really bonding with the paper. It's not moving very much. Only a little bit of it is moving. And in the lighter part of the green, we see some yellow tones, meaning that we have some yellow mixed in here to help give it some of that nice shading. The next writing sample is done on 80 GSM Rhodia dot pad. We have no bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade. The extra fine is lighter than the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, and some very nice shading as quick goes dark to light to dark, brown goes dark to light. The very dark, where over goes dark on the O, lighter into the V, and very dark back into the ER. 11 seconds to dry. Medium is a little bit lighter than the extra fine with no feather spread, halo sheen, nicer shading. Quick goes dark to light to dark. Fox goes light to dark. Lazy goes dark to light. Dog, light to dark. 17 seconds to dry. Scrubby for both show good color variation. We get it in the writing, better in the medium. And a smear test you could recover if you smeared while you were writing. Resistance tests are done to see how this ink can be expected to perform on the page, and more importantly, how hard it may be to clean from your pen. The smear is allowed to dry for 3 days before testing it. Looking at the highlighter, it handles itself very well. It would make me feel safe using it in a note-taking situation if I wanted to go back and highlight. Water isn't really doing very much to move this ink away. It only took away the very top layer and left all the rest of it. Pen flush, you're starting to get the green and yellow gone. You definitely see that gray very much there still. 1/3 bleach solution is completely removing it. Now it only took water to get this out of my pen. The next writing sample is done on yellow Rhodia paper. Now we're doing this not to see performance change, but to see tone change that goes on. And what we see is it gets in general lighter. That little bit of yellow that is in the chromatographies for this is enhanced with the yellow background, making this a lighter tone. It still looks fantastic. It still performs very well, but it doesn't become a different thing. It's this same green, but lighter, and most noticeable in the stub. It's a very dark green. It's a medium tone green. So if you wanted that green still, you just have to be aware of this. For the inks tested, the average viscosity was 2.5, and the realm of normal was 2.1 to 2.9. PensBBS number 219 has a viscosity of 1.19, making this a wet. If you're interested in how all that viscosity stuff is done, there's a link to that video in the description. Let's take a look at the next writing sample done on black and red paper. Now this is a bit more absorbent paper than some of the ones we've seen already, and we have no bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather, spread, halo sheen, and no shade. The extra fine is lighter than the stub and has no feather, spread, halo sheen. Despite being a more absorbent paper, it still shows shading where the K in quick is darker, the B in brown is darker, the R in over, darker than what's around, the very dark. So nice shading here on this paper, 5 seconds to dry. Medium is about the same tone as the extra fine. With no feather, spread, halo sheen, nicer shading as brown goes dark to light to dark, quick goes dark to light to dark, 8 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both shows some color variation, and it's there in the writing. And the smear test you could recover if you smeared while you were writing. For the inks tested, the average dry time was 17 seconds, with the realm of normal being from 13 to 21 seconds. PensBBS 219 has an average dry time of 15 seconds, making it normal. The last writing sample is done on white lines paper. Now we do have some bleed spots that are occurring, and this is not really a fountain pen friendly paper. These little bleed spots really aren't bad. It just means the ink's getting very deep into the paper, but it is not coming through. It is not ruining the back of the page. You could use the back of the paper if you really wanted to. The 1.1 has no feather, spread, halo sheen, and no shade. The extra fine is lighter than the stub with no feather, spread, halo sheen, not much for shading, 4 seconds to dry. Medium is the same tone as the extra fine with no feather, spread, halo sheen, a very nice shading. Look at the going light to dark, quick going dark to light to dark, brown going dark to light to dark, fox going dark to light to dark, really nice here. 7 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both show a tiny bit of color variation, but it's much better up here, especially in the medium. And the smear test you could definitely recover if you smeared while you were writing. Instead of finding inks that look like PensBBS number 219, I'd prefer to find an ink that complements its color on the page. I went with a brown ink by KWZ, their Iron Gall Gold. Now if you'd prefer a different complement color, then down in the description are links to those playlists. So what do I think of PensBBS number 219? This is a pleasant, crisp tone that has an appropriate amount of shading. It isn't something. I don't know what. It's missing something. It just is off for me. And that's just how it is. It's a great ink, but it's just not going to be that green ink for me. So what nib and pen will give the best writing experience with this ink? Don't go with the double broad like I did. A medium to dry flowing fine pen really puts down a good tone and takes advantage of all of the shading there is here. I hope you got something out of this video, and in the next video we're going to take a look at Diamine's Lilac Night.